I'm back. I'm back in my dojo. Thank God. After a weird couple of weeks where I was in Oregon head to head to take care of some personal business, I'm going to be in West Virginia this week. Really excited to watch a few specific individuals, and Nick Caley talked about those individuals today. I've got a few of my favorite answers or most interesting things about today's press conference. First was he was asked about Ariante Ursary, the rookie offensive tackle who's been playing a lot at right tackle with the ones. He looks to be the favorite at this point in that position battle, most specifically with Blake Fisher. Here is Nick Caley on Ursary's development so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a really nice job dating back to spring. He works at it. He comes in, he spends a lot of extra time on his own. Fundamentally, technique, pad level, all those things are improving. So still got a ways to go, but I've been pleased with it. And he's a very conscientious guy, and he's wired the right way.
He's wired the right way, which is nice to hear. I know that DeMeco during OTAs had been asked about him, and he said that Ursary was learning about all the finer elements of being a pro, taking notes, all of those things. Whatever message perhaps that he gave, it sounds like Ariante Ursary received it. And just in those three clips that I showed, you can see that when you talk about pad level, he's a really, really big guy, but he plays kind of stiff-legged at times. But at the same time, he's super athletic. He's very strong in the weight room. He has functional strength that shows up on the field. So I'm really excited to get to watch him, not just versus Will Anderson, but in the run game, going down versus interior defensive linemen, all of that. I'm optimistic about him at this point. We'll see some things in the next few preseason games and combined practice and all that. But so far, so good. I'm disappointed that Blake Fisher has gotten off to as rough a start as he has. I mean, you're in a competitive situation. They draft an offensive tackle in the second round, same round you went in the year before. You'd like to see that really lit a fire under a guy and that he comes out and is just fighting his butt off. And I'm sure he's trying hard, but he hasn't impressed people nearly to the extent, or at least hasn't impressed the coaches yet as much as Ariante Ursary has. Next, CJ Stroud. Obviously, I want to watch CJ Stroud, but I'll talk about specifically what I want to watch after Nick Caley tells you about how he's coming along in the offense and what he's working on.
I mean, I think it's everything. I think it's timing. I think it's, being a little, anchoring a little bit more at times in the protection piece of it. Being able to play more on time, got to do a better job myself, maybe getting some more quick options there early on too. I think it's collectively, it's everything. It's not just one person. It's never just one person or one facet. Just think we got to continue to all evolve and get better, collectively.
The question must have been more specifically about adjusting to the pass protection or something like that. You got the gist of it. You can't hear those questions in the press conference. So a couple things there. One is Caley talked about needing to get him quicker options. You look at Jaden Daniels last year, and Cliff Kingsbury did a great job of giving him options when he used blitzed, especially hot routes, etc. The Texans offense last year just did not bother with hot routes. And the old theory is, hey, the play design will set you free. You'll be able to find an option somewhere. That back in the old days, yeah, but it's just different now. Defenses are really so good at disguising their coverages, their fronts, whether or not they're blitzing, that hot routes go a long way. So I hope that that's part of it. As far as playing on time, I want to just show you one clip from last year, and I'm not doing this to crush CJ or anything, but there was an element of CJ being a horrible quarterback or anything. Could you hear my voice while that clip was playing? I sure hope you could. If you couldn't, then all is lost. But getting the ball out on time, that comes with an offensive coordinator that's drilling him into just how to operate and exactly where to go with the ball. and when. And I think CJ is very much open to that. He just was never on the same page with Bobby as to how to operate the offense necessarily. So I want to watch that. And I know the quick game has looked a lot better this year. That's been one of the more positive reports. Getting out of the huddle quickly up to the line of scrimmage. I'm going to watch a couple of games from last year and figure out what the average time was that CJ had left on the play clock when he got up to the line of scrimmage, especially on third downs. Then in training camp this week in West Virginia, I just want to see what the difference is. I want to have substantive proof that part of the operation is going to look better, because it has to if CJ is going to have more control at the line of scrimmage. Next one up, I believe Landry. Oh, no, somebody else asked a question about competing, trying to install this offense while also competing against a really aggressive and really good Texans defense.
They're competitive every single day, the unit we go. So we got to get our stuff in, and we got to make sure that we're trying to, clean up the things that we can control to give ourselves an opportunity to compete against them. But it makes us better. It's what you expect out of this unit, and it's what we expect from ourselves, is to go out there and compete too and battle. And, it's as hard of a look as we're going to see down after down, and that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. There's an old theory that when you're trying to learn or install something or practice a new skill, that an 80% success rate is a pretty good pace to go at. That if you can be successful about 80% of the time, do what you want to do, then you don't get discouraged and you get to practice the skill. There have been some practices here where it doesn't feel like the Texans are necessarily operating at an 80% success rate. Like, obviously, you want it when you're watching your own team go against your own team. You'd like it to be 50-50. But there are times where it's going to be hard for this offense to really execute exactly what they're going for when they're going against that defense. I don't think it's anything that DeMeco should be worried about right now. But as you move along in training camp, hopefully what you see is, hey, if CJ's out there and he's going to be facing a lot of defense, especially with the Rams, he's going to be facing a backup defense against the Rams. The Rams, I'm blank. Obviously, they don't play the Rams in the preseason. Excuse me. Versus a lot of the opponents they're going to be playing versus backup defenses. I think you're going to have a taste of success there. The windows are going to be larger. And then as you move along in training camp, you don't want to take it easy on the offense, but you also just want to be able to execute some things. So maybe you don't tell the defense to back off, but maybe you get a few vet days here and there and just try to, because the secondary right now is just maniacally effective, and the defensive line is crushing at the edges, especially at times, just killing stuff dead in the water. Landry asked an interesting question about that element. I'll just let Landry ask it, because there's a little bit of a inside football answer to this about how you operate during training camp.
They're competitive every single day, the unit we go. So we got to get our stuff in. And we got to make sure that we're trying to, clean up the things that we can control to give ourselves an opportunity to compete against them. But it makes us better. It's what you expect out of this unit, and it's what we expect from ourselves, is to go out there and compete too and battle. And, it's as hard of a look as we're going to see down after down. And
Going back to what Sarge said, is there any emphasis from you guys where you can evaluate plays from multiple areas? Because the play doesn't seem busted when there is a sack. It seems like the rep is still going and being completed with the receiver.
Sure.
Is that something that you emphasize?
Yeah, I think just in general, you want to be able to continue on through the play and get the work at it. So, DeMeco will control the whistle when he feels it needs to be blown dead, and he's the boss. So we just listen for the whistle when he blows it or he doesn't.
Okay, so I'll tell you what happens there. For one, for the defensive lineman, whenever you run past the quarterback, you need to be sure, if the offense is going to keep playing, you need to let the world know, and you yell, "Sack!" really loudly. And then everybody knows, and you get your credit and your cookie at the end of practice. But the tough part is when DeMeco blows the whistle, what you don't want to see, and this is what you would see out of CJ in his rookie year, Deshaun Watson in his rookie year, whenever it might be, you don't want a quarterback who, if there was a fictitious sack or in reality or a hypothetical sack, you don't want him to just sit there and for 8 seconds in the pocket before getting rid of the football, because you're going to complete it. You're going to find an open receiver, and that's the hard part for quarterbacks psychologically, is to still have that clock in their head. even if pass protection broke down. And then also, CJ deciding when to run. And am I being honest as far as when I would choose to run in a game? So his relationship with Nick Caley, and then the way DeMeco structures practice or calls it or blows the whistle. Now that's all just part of becoming a veteran quarterback, is getting the ball out on time, whether there was a hypothetical sack or not. Just get the ball out on time and don't be running more than you should. We don't have to worry about that with CJ. I think CJ's really, if anything, he's always been encouraged to run more than he did, and we saw that at the end of last season and in the playoffs. The other part about DeMeco's role in it is it's really interesting that he's talked a couple of times so far this training camp about delegating and about becoming a mentor for the coaches as well as the players, and that DeMeco can't necessarily be as hands-on with player development. He's got to be hands-on with his coaches who are developing the players. But I think that also frees DeMeco up to spend more time with the offense and to have more of a head coach focus in terms of just, remember Tank Dell had that funny response on Bussin' with the Boys last year where they asked him something about playing for a defensive coach or what's the worst thing about DeMeco? And Tank said, man, he's never happy when we do well. He's happy when the defense does well. And it wasn't like Tank had animosity about it or anything, but it is a real thing. And there's just this tendency. When David Culley was the coach for a year, I would get upset sometimes when he would focus on the offense after a game and either be praising the offense or criticizing the offense and leaving the defense out of it altogether. Lovie Smith was the same way, but just in favor of the defense. So I've got a natural bias towards the defense, but as a head coach, you gotta learn how to balance it a little bit. And I think like DeMeco knows and understands that challenge. It's something that in year 3, I'm thinking like he's got the culture set on defense. I think a lot of those veteran players really know the defense like the back of their hand. So he can kind of step back and delegate a little bit more, let Matt Burke take more of the reins. One of you guys had a good question, and I did see that all was lost and you didn't have my audio when I was showing that clip. So I'll do that a little bit here at the back end. This is such a I'll tell you my travel story. Yesterday, I woke up at 2 a.m. Pacific time to get to the airport. I had a classic Southwest scenario where I had 3 flights. We got stuck in Las Vegas. I was on the plane for 3 hours before we finally took off. And it was just a quagmire after that. So I ended up getting to bed at 3 a.m., set my alarm, and immediately, as soon as I set my alarm, the alarm was going off and I was awake. And then I've been going nonstop since then. So I'm not at my best, and as we know, my best isn't always all that great either. Somebody had asked about Micah Kincolba. Do you think we should go after Micah? No, I do not think we should go after Micah. Not that I don't respect him a lot as a football player, but if we look at the Texans depth chart, I just want to see if I can pull this up as I learn this new software. Let's see if we can pull up thank God there wasn't like some dirty thing on there. Let's see. Texans depth chart. Okay. Not that there ever would be anything dirty on there. How little you guys think of me. Look at the defensive ends there. Will Anderson, DeMeco Autry, Dylan Horton, Casey Tunsil. And then you go down to the next set of defensive ends. Danielle Hunter, Darrell Taylor, who's been doing some really good things, Derek Barnett, and Solomon Byrd. Like the Texans put. Oh, if you cannot hear me, damn it. Could you not hear me? During that? Let me fix this. Everybody, if you're new to this stream, I promise you it's only usually about 50% as clunky as this right now, but I need to figure out how to do some of this on my new software. So basically, I was trying to show you the defensive ends. They've just got a boatload of defensive ends right now. DeMeco Autry, Dylan Horton, Darrell Taylor, Derek Burnett, Solomon Byrd's been doing some really good things to add to Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. And what I think is that the Texans defensive linemen could kind of become like the Astros pitchers, where you just bring them in and you develop these guys to the point where, hey, Danielle Hunter is going to be gone someday or he's going to retire. He's on a 2-year contract, but you've got somebody waiting in the wings to replace him, and you don't have to go out and spend big money on a free agent. There's going to be a draft pick here or there on into the future. So as much as it would be cool to have Micah is going to be making a boatload of money, and it's kind of doubling down on something that you're already good at. So that's not where I think the Texans need to be focusing right now. It's not like they're in a bad cap situation, but they push a good chunk of money off into the future, and you don't want to get too much in the habit of doing all of that. Okay, you missed the part early on. Good luck on the Iowa. Oh, sorry. I thought you said my ayahuasca trip. It wasn't an ayahuasca trip. Not that I'm opposed to an ayahuasca trip. I just wasn't. It's not what I'm looking for. We could move Micah to linebacker like we're playing Madden. Yeah. Paying Micah $35 million a year to be an off-ball linebacker is probably not the smartest thing to do. And also, good. Currently driving to Houston from Jacksonville in Louisiana right now. I'm going to try to set up the podcast element to my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel will go directly to podcast as well. So if you're driving or whatever, you don't have to be wasting data on all of that. And then hopefully the members-only streams then will be podcast as well, because I know that's a problem with the members-only streams. You can't listen to them with the screen off. So I'm going to call it a day for now. Daddy needs some sleep. My wife needs some attention. Even the cat missed me. Like, subscribe. I promise you it's usually not as clunky as this was. I've gotten a lot better with stuff. It's pretty clunky by professional YouTuber standards, but not as bad as this.